Howdy, folks. I'm Bitter Blackberries, bluntly blaming bland batter.
I'm Amber.
We can only blame ourselves, though. Blackberries for being bitter is all I can figure, unless the butter was bitter. Because Betty bought some butter, but the butter she said was bitter. If she put it in her... I lost the thread. Let's get started. Alright, folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Locking My Husband Out of the House Because He Wouldn't Stop Bringing Stray Animals Home? So, my husband, a 32-year-old male, has this huge soft spot for animals. Like, it's a nice trait and all, but it's getting really out of control. Every time he sees a stray dog, cat, or even a freaking raccoon, he brings it home. Just for the night to make sure it's okay. We've been married for 5 years, and in that time, I've come home to at least 20 different animals in our house. Some were covered in fleas, some chewed up our furniture, and then one time he even brought home a possum that hissed at me when I went into the kitchen. It's beyond stressful, especially since we already have 3 pets of our own. I've told him countless times to stop bringing strays home, but he brushes off saying that I can't leave them on the street. Well, last night was the final straw. He comes home at midnight with a stray goat that he found wandering near a park. Yes, a goat. And then he thought it would be fine just to let it stay in the living room overnight. I lost it, and I told him that he's being ridiculous and that he can't keep doing this, but he wouldn't listen to me. So I did something drastic. While he was out in the backyard trying to build some makeshift pen for the goat, I locked our doors and I told him that he could sleep outside with it if he was so attached. He ended up sleeping in the car because it was cold, and now he's furious with me, saying that I overreacted and that it was cruel to lock your own husband out. I told him that I'm done living in an animal shelter and that it's either the strays or me. He says that I'm being heartless and that I should be more compassionate. But I feel like I've put up with enough. Am I the jerk for locking him out because he wouldn't stop bringing random animals home? Alright, folks, what do you think of this?
I mean, while Opie shouldn't have locked him out, definitely locked the goats out. What he is doing is dangerous to OP and the animals they currently have.
Yeah.
Like, if these animals look sick, some of them, I'm assuming the wild animals must look like they're not doing so hot, because why would you bring a raccoon into your house otherwise?
Yeah.
That could be a recipe for rabies or some other contagious disease. I mean, sometimes, animals can contract all kinds of diseases that they can then pass on to OP's animals and hurt or kill them, or they could attack them, or they could attack OP or her husband. Like, he is not a trained wildlife rehabilitator. He is not
That we know of.
That we know of. He doesn't. Well, if he was, he'd have a dedicated space for them, and not be bringing them in and leaving a goat in the living room.
Yeah, well, I would think also that if he were a trained wildlife rehabilitator, then he would know these things, like, oh, there are diseases that they can carry. And it sounds like he was actually having the goat outside at a certain point, like maybe he realized because he was going to build the pen.
He's going to build a pen, but then bring it in the house overnight because he thinks it's a house cat.
I don't know. Like, goats are able to survive outside, right? Unless it's getting too cold that he's afraid that it's going to freeze overnight or something like that. But, goats and other animals, they have a lot of brown fat, so it allows them to live outside without worrying about freezing here. So I think that he is being absurd here, and I think that he's doing an extremely dangerous thing. Any animal that he brings home needs to be quarantined away from the house pets, period. And even the humans, because you don't know what kind of viruses or other diseases that they may be carrying that they could infect with you. And this is, something that he should look into if he's this passionate about taking care of animals. They need to build themselves a makeshift home for these animals so that they can have a place that they can stay overnight that isn't going to put the other members of the family at risk. So I think that OP, it's difficult to hold the locking him outside too harshly, but it wasn't the best move, right?
Right.
I think it was born out of desperation.
Right, I understand OP was like at her wit's end, and he probably wouldn't have let her keep the goat outside when that goat did not need to be coming in the house. So, I don't know what the right answer was there, and I don't hold it against her that she did it, but technically she probably shouldn't have locked him out because it's his house too.
Yeah. But folks, let's see what the Wheel of Judgment has to say. Will it say that she was justified? Will it say that she wasn't? I don't know. You don't know. Only the wheel knows. And the wheel says, kind of justified.
I mean, fair. Fair.
I mean, maybe the wheel is onto something here. Maybe it was just kind of justified. Let me know what you folks think, though. And Rainbow Cross says, is he neurodivergent, ADHD, or anything like that? Is he lacking impulse control in other areas? And OP replies, not diagnosed with any of that, exhibits ADHD symptoms at times. And Rick Russell, Texas says, not the jerk, but I'm sorry that he is choosing to end your marriage over this. And PM me some inappropriate stuff for YouTube says, is your husband aware that the rescues and shelters exist? If he's worried, then he can make the drive to one and drop off any strays. Bringing random animals to your home where you already have pets is dangerous, not the jerk. And Karuangi Ninzi says, are you aware that rescuers and shelters don't operate 24/7? Most are already completely full, and therefore finding someone to take in a stray at the drop of a hat is often nigh impossible. Sadly, all too often, someone has to look after a stray temporarily while a place is found for it. But wandering the living room or kitchen is perhaps not the best solution. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for leaving my party for beating cancer? I'm a 35-year-old male and I'm a very private person. I have no social media and I don't want my wife, a 32-year-old female, posting photos of me. Although I don't tell her not to, just ask her not to post ones of me. Celebrating Father's Day or my birthday, I don't like the attention on me and I prefer to keep things low-key whenever I can. So keeping that in mind, I was diagnosed with an extremely curable type of skin cancer. It was caught very early on, and I never felt scared for my life in any way, shape, or form. I'm an engineer, and I think analytically, and I wasn't scared with a diagnosis with a 0.03% fatality rate. Still, I told my wife, of course, and she was terrified. We talked it through, and I told her my doctor was very optimistic and said that we have caught it early on, etc. None of it seemed to help, but I tried. After a while, I told her that we shouldn't tell our kids, a 5-year-old female and a 7-year-old female, and my wife wanted to tell them, but I was adamant about that. I'm not even sure that they would understand what we were talking about. Reluctantly, she agreed not to. Well, about a week later, I get a call from my dad asking me about my cancer. Turns out, my wife had posted on Facebook about my cancer that morning. I called her, and I wasn't happy that she had posted my business behind my back. She said, you didn't say that I couldn't post it, just not tell the kids excuse. There's no way she would think that I wanted this posted online no matter what I said. She took it down and time went by. Very quickly, I was in remission with my skin cancer and my doctor told me word for word, we don't like to say that you're cured, but you're cured. I told my wife and she was ecstatic. She told me that she was worried all this time, I could tell, and was glad that we could put this behind us. I thought that we could put this all behind us too. Well, this weekend, I'm coming home on Friday, I see a lot of cars parked on the street, some in my driveway. I couldn't think of any birthdays or anniversaries that I had missed, but I went in anyways. It was a party for my remission diagnosis. I was mortified at this. She never has done anything like this, and we've talked about how I would hate a surprise party multiple times. I asked what this was all about. I'm sorry, but I didn't know you had planned this. I'm coming back for some files and I'm heading back to work. It was a lie. I gathered up some meaningless files in my office and said thanks to everyone for coming out, and then I left to go back to the office, messing around on my phone until everyone left. My wife knew that I was lying, and we fought that night, and I told her that I don't know what's gotten into her, but she knows that I would never have wanted this, and she doesn't get to make a big deal out of something personal I never wanted to be public in the first place. We've been cold this whole week, and my brother says that I'm a jerk since I told him I just pretended to go to work. So am I the jerk for not wanting to celebrate beating my cancer? All right, folks, what do you think?
Nope, not the jerk. She was well aware that this was not something OP would want, I'm not sure why she threw the party, if not like some kind of attention grab.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're willing to use your partner for an attention grab like that against their will, then like what kind of a partner are you?
I mean, I get her fear, but I mean, I think what she's done here really crossed some major boundaries that OP established, right? And that doesn't give her the right to stomp all over his boundaries just because she's relieved or she had some, fear and whatnot. If she's this scared and that she has, is working through these problems, the best place for her to go would have been to like therapy to kind of talk about these feelings that she has with a therapist.
Well, certainly, or maybe confide in one close friend who's not going to spread this around, but to post it on Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
when she knows this isn't something he wants everyone knowing, and then make this grand party out of it, it just feels very performative.
Well, and not to mention, like, it's clear, like, there are some cancer diagnoses that are worse than others, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in this particular case, OP didn't feel like they were in a position where this was going to impact them. And, right, like, it was there a very small chance that anything bad would happen from this, especially since they caught it early on.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can understand OP feeling uncomfortable with, having a diagnosis where it can be fatal for so many people, right?
Right. Well, yeah, it's such a scary thing to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I understand why she would be concerned about it. But then going and telling everyone, that's just going to work everyone up
Mm-hmm.
instead of like, there's very little chance of fatality or serious issues here. It's best to just kind of keep it quieter
Mm-hmm.
and not get everyone worried.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Key Thought 5944 says, not the jerk, your wife completely disregarded your feelings regarding your personal privacy. She should take down the Facebook post immediately and apologize for ambushing you with the party. And OP replies, in her defense, she did take down the Facebook post when I called her without my asking her to take it down. And Key Thought 5944 says, that's good, but she still sprung this unwanted party on you. She was genuinely scared for your health and wanted to celebrate her joy that you are now in remission, however, dismissed your preferences for personal privacy. You didn't yell or make a scene, you just made an excuse to go back to work. Your wife feels embarrassed, but that's on her, not the jerk. And oh dear, it's Richard says, she was only genuinely scared because she didn't listen to her husband or his doctors. He was never in any real danger. Well, and I mean, that's not entirely true, right? Because, I mean, like, this is still a serious diagnosis and it still needs to be treated very seriously.
Right.
But
There's always a chance something can go wrong. And
yeah,
so there's nothing wrong with having some concern.
yeah. But the odds were very in OP's favor, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, am I the jerk for telling a kid working at Burger King drive-thru that he was going to kill someone? I decided last week to make Burger King my cheat meal. I'm a 40-year-old female and I ordered the chicken breast sandwich meal with a Diet Coke. I get to the window, pay, and the teenage boy at the window hands me my drink. So while I was waiting for my food, I decided to take a sip. It doesn't taste right, so I try another sip. Still weird. So I tell the kid that this drink doesn't taste like Diet Coke. Kid tells me that I gave you a regular Coke because Diet Coke is gross. I was completely surprised by his comment. I responded, but I ordered a Diet Coke. Kid says, Diet Coke tastes like battery acid, so I gave you a regular. Now at this point, I feel like this older millennial is having an out-of-body experience. Regardless of how he feels about Diet Coke, all he needs to do is give me what I ordered. I was trying to be nice. I really was, but I was thinking, what if I was diabetic? I have a close family member who is a T1, and I have seen firsthand what a couple of sips of regular Coke can do. So I say again, can I please get a Diet Coke that I ordered? And he responds, Diet Coke is disgusting. So I tell him there are reasons why someone might order a Diet Coke and not be able to have a regular one. Kid says, well, it's still gross. At this point, I ask for a manager, enter a woman in her 30s, not the manager, but at least an adult. So I explain what I had ordered and what I got. She turns to him and asks why, and gets the same battery acid response. She promptly apologizes and gets me the right drink. I ask her to educate him, and she assures me that she will. Then the kid, who is completely unbothered by the whole exchange, hands me my food, and I tell the kid, you keep giving people Coke who ordered Diet Coke, and you're going to kill someone, and I drive away. Afterwards, I thought that I might have been a bit harsh, but it also occurred to me that his job is to give me what I ordered, whether he likes it or not. In this situation, he had no choice. So, am I the jerk for trying to get the message through this kid's thick head, just to give people what they ordered before he kills someone? Alright folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. I mean, as you said, it is dangerous to not tell people what they're getting in their food. You never know when people will have either, health issues like diabetes, or there are some people who have, intolerances to certain foods.
Yeah. Well, and on that, right? What happens if someone was, gluten free, right? Like if they had celiacs, and he's like, "Oh, I gave you regular buns because the gluten ones were gross."
Exactly.
Right?
Like his personal preferences. Like I like the taste of Diet Coke way better than the taste of actual Coke. And so like for me, I would also be miffed if I ordered a Diet Coke and I got a regular Coke, because I much prefer the battery acid to the good Coke.
Yeah, and I think that he needs to. I mean, why even bother? The guy is earning minimum wage at a fast food restaurant. At a certain point, why fight people with giving them stuff that they didn't order, right?
Right. Well, and what if I order a veggie burger and then he decided to give a hamburger,
Yeah.
and be like, well, veggie burgers are gross. Like it's not up to your personal preferences when you're a server what you give people.
Yeah, exactly. And as the expression goes, the customer is always right in matters of taste. That's the whole expression, by the way, not the customer is always right bit.
Right. Yeah. Well,
And in matters of taste, yeah, the customer is always right. Don't change someone's order because you dislike their order. So, yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Alright folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here in Amber. She has a joke.
Susan, I don't think that photo you took of me on vacation does me justice. Sharon, you don't want justice. You want mercy.
Oh! With friends like these. That's actually not too bad there, Jovial Bob sign. That was a sick burn, as the kids say. And I have Earl Grey. Alright folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy terrific Tuesday, spelled TWO. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it on ignoring reasonable requests.
Don't ignore reasonable requests.
They're reasonable. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.